What's up? This is Stacy with a new video detailing my out-of-state flip. I'm going to go over the details. I'm going to let you know how I went from knowing very little about flipping houses to completing a major flip from out of state. I'll let you know how I learned to do it, break it down for you, and let you know how you can do it too. As someone that's been doing real estate on the side for quite a while, I figured the next logical step is flipping a house. I really didn't know what to do, so I started doing a lot of research. I listened to podcasts, I went on real estate forums, and I learned what I could from other people that were doing the same thing that I want to do. I spent quite a bit of time learning and analyzing and trying to kind of figure out how to do this. I spent so much time reading books and analyzing properties and trying to figure out what to do, and I almost felt like I was getting stuck in a cycle of just learning and learning and learning. I ended up joining an accountability mastermind group, and that got me to go from analysis paralysis to action. So I live in Los Angeles and I knew that I wanted to flip houses, but I didn't want to flip in my area. The area that I live in is very expensive and extremely competitive. I knew that I wanted to go out of state, but I didn't know what to do, how to do it, or even what state to go in. I ended up reading this book, Long Distance Real Estate Investing by David Green. It was almost like my handbook, and it gave me many of the tools that I needed to start. I settled on Houston, Texas, and I got a lot of referrals from the contacts I had made on the internet. I thought I had my team together, but a lot of them did not end up working out. I ended up getting rid of people I was working with before I even started working with them. I was running into situations where they weren't returning phone calls or emails. The communication was terrible. They actually didn't know what they said they would do. And then I had realtors and I had wholesalers bringing me deals where they flat out fudged the numbers. I had to move on quite a bit before I even started. Before you purchase a house to flip, you're going to need to analyze the numbers. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what you analyze, and then I'll go into a little more detail. You're going to need your purchase price of your house, your rehab cost, your holding costs, any lender fees. You're going to need any costs associated with selling the house. You're also going to need to know what the house is going to be worth once it's fixed up. First number you look at is your purchase price. That's the cost of the house and whatever other fees you will incur in purchasing the home. If you're getting a loan, your lender should be able to help you with that. You may have things like points, origination fees, title, escrow, possibly prepaid insurance, and other miscellaneous fees. You're going to need to do a little research so you can analyze these numbers and know what you're looking at on the purchase price. Your lender, realtor, or whoever you're purchasing the home from can help you figure out these fees. The next one is holding costs, and this one is not only extremely important, but it's one that a lot of people don't figure or don't figure enough for, and it can actually make or break your deal. For your holding costs, you're going to want to estimate how much money it's going to cost you each month to hold on to that property. This is going to be the time while the rehab is getting done, once it's for sale, how long it takes to find a buyer, and for it to close. A good idea is to take that number and add some time on it depending on how long the rehab and the project is. I'd recommend adding at least 2 months on there. Every month that you hold the property, you're going to have fees. If you have a loan, you're going to have interest. You're going to need to include things like utilities, possibly insurance if you're paying monthly, yard maintenance, HOA or homeowners association fees, and there could be other fees. The next number you need is your ARV, or after repair value. This is what the house is going to sell for. This is where you're going to use the realtor that you're working with to come up with the cost of the house. This is where you want to be working with an experienced and knowledgeable realtor. This is going to be the price that you're going to sell the house for once it's fixed up. Your realtor will help you come up with this number, and this ideally will be the person that sells the house for you on the back end and helps you with your next project. You're also going to need to figure out costs to sell the house. There's going to be some fees, and they're going to include real estate agent commission, which could be 5 to 6%. You could have transfer tax, attorney fees, escrow fees. You may have to give the buyer a home warranty, and sometimes you're going to need to give them a credit at the end. So you'll want a little bit of buffer on this number as well. To calculate your profit, it's actually pretty simple. You're going to take the sales cost of your house and just subtract every single fee that you've paid. You're going to be subtracting the purchase price of the house, any fees associated with that, your holding costs, your construction fees, any fees associated with selling the house, and any other numbers that you have previously figured. This calculation can easily be done on a piece of paper or in a spreadsheet, or you can use a fix and flip report, such as on BiggerPockets or Dealcheck. I do have an affiliate link below with the program that I use, and they make it very simple. This is also a good time to run a buy and hold report. This would be a report to see what kind of profit you were to make if you were to keep it as a rental. When you run this report, you're going to get your ROI, or rate of return, which is pretty much how much interest on the money that you put out. Again, you can run this report on Dealcheck, which is the link that I have below, or on the BiggerPockets calculator. You're going to be paying taxes on your profit, so it's very important to keep a detailed record of all of the expenses that you incur while rehabbing the property so you can offset your profit. My first goal was to get a rehab that was $10,000 or less so that I could start small and start learning how to do this. I was not able to find any deals with that small of a rehab that was enough to make me a profit. Through the connections that I made online, I was introduced to wholesalers, realtors, contractors, and I went and I also looked up top real estate agents. I started having a lot of deals coming to me from real estate agents and wholesalers. Wholesalers are the ones that find homes that need to be fixed up and sell them to investors. I had one contractor that I was working with quite a bit, and I had him look at quite a few houses for me. Every house that he looked at had some sort of a major problem, or the rehab was completely estimated wrong. A lot of the wholesalers and realtors that were giving me deals were completely fudging the numbers. So I was getting a little bit frustrated, but I did realize that this will take quite a bit of time, especially before I have my team built up. I got a text from the contractor that was checking out these houses for me, asking if I'd call him. And I just figured he was going to say, I do not want to look at any more properties for you because I'm not making any money and you are wasting my time. But I called him anyway. He said, I think I have a deal for you. It's a burn house, so most of the house is burnt down. I can rehab the house for $95,000. The wholesaler's selling it for $67,000, and the ARV, or after repair value, should be about $220,000. Those numbers sounded good, and he got me in contact with the wholesaler. The wholesaler sent me an email detailing the house with those exact same numbers. I contacted the realtor I was working with, and I asked him if he can give me an ARV, or after repair value. He said the house should be worth about $210,000 to $220,000, so that was right in line with what the wholesaler was saying. I ended up purchasing the house sight unseen. I had actually missed out on quite a few deals because I wasn't acting fast enough, and I did recognize that this was a good deal and I was going to be able to make some money. So the wholesaler got me approved for a hard money loan. A hard money loan is where you borrow the money for the house and the rehab, and they charge you a lot of money. First, you're going to have points, which is going to be a percentage of the loan. If the points are, say, 2 to 5, that is the percentage you're going to pay upfront of the loan as a fee. On top of that, you're going to have interest, and hard money interest is typically very high. The interest on hard money can range anywhere from 8 to 15%. The idea of hard money is you get the money for a very short time. You're making so much money on your deal that it doesn't matter. If you want to use hard money, just figure the cost of the loan and the interest and make sure that it still works for your deal. So the contract was emailed to me to sign for the house, and I was looking at that hard money loan, and I had butterflies in my stomach. Those numbers were so high. I called the wholesaler and said I would like the option to pay cash. When I made that call, I didn't have the cash and I didn't know where I was going to get it, but I thought I'd try. He sent me a new contract saying I can use the hard money or cash. Once I signed that, I went to work to get the money. Spoiler alert, I did not use hard money, and I'm proud of that. The first bit of money I got was a loan from my 401k. That's a loan on my retirement account where I can pay myself back and I earn the interest. I got a credit card offer in the mail from one of my credit cards offering me a 0% loan for 18 months with a 3% fee. That actually sounded pretty good to me on this deal. I would be able to get a 3% loan and I would have 18 months to pay it back. Even if everything took a lot longer with the rehab or selling the house, I wouldn't have all those extra holding costs because it was 0% interest. I called the credit card company and I asked if they could give me a higher line of credit, and they said yes. I then called all of my credit cards and I asked them if they could do the same deal for me. Most of them, of course, said no, but a few of them did. I was able to get money from my credit cards with a 3% fee up front and 0% interest. Most of them were approximately 18 months. This was enough money to barely fund my deal, but I wanted a little bit of a buffer. I ended up getting a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. This is a very low interest rate loan on the equity of my house. The nice part about it is there's no fees, and if I don't use it, it doesn't cost me anything, but it's there if I need it. I was set. I paid cash and I had all the money set for all the expenses that were going to come up. If you want to do a flip and don't want to use hard money, you can get money from any of these sources that I've mentioned. You can get a personal loan through a bank. You can get a partner where somebody else puts up the money. You find the property and do all the work and split the profits. You can also use private money. This is where you borrow money from someone, typically at a higher interest rate than they're getting on their savings account, but a lower interest rate than you're going to get for your hard money. They make more money on your money and you pay less in interest. And that's a win-win for everyone. I was extremely nervous when the rehab started. My first payment was extremely high, and the contractor said he needed that to cover permits and materials. Since this was my first deal, I decided to go to Houston multiple times during the project to check on the house. I don't really know a whole lot about construction, but when I went there and the contractor showed me, here's plumbing, here's electrical, here's the roof, and then pulled out a paper and showed me the permits, I had a pretty good feeling about it, and I could see the work was getting done. I made multiple trips and actually really enjoyed traveling and seeing a new city. As the project went on, the work started to slow down a little bit. Every time I went to see the house and the contractor knew I was coming, there was about 10 guys working on it, and it was looking fantastic. When I would show up without giving him the exact dates, there was typically 0 to 1 person working on the house. One time he even told me that I needed to let him know when I was going to come visit my house. I didn't like that. I showed up anyway. In the middle of the rehab, and by this time the rehab was supposed to be done, the work really started slowing down quite a bit. Part of it was due to weather, and a lot of it, I think the contractor was just doing too many jobs. Before the work was done, he told me he needed me to pay him for the rest of the work. We had a signed contract with a payment schedule, which I completely stuck to, and I knew this was not a good idea. I ended up not paying him until the work was done, but it did delay the project quite a bit. Once the work was done, my realtor looked at the house and advised me to put it on the market for $229,000. So that's $9,000 more than the estimate. I really wanted to sell it, but I did trust my realtor, so I agreed. We had 3 full price offers within just a few days. I could not believe it. Unfortunately, a few days later, I got an email from the seller saying that the house was in terrible condition. There were so many issues that they mentioned from their inspection, and they basically said the house was falling apart, and in order to buy it, I would need to drop the price by some crazy amount, like $30,000 or $40,000. Of course, I was freaked out. I could not believe that my contractor did such an awful job and didn't even give me a house that's good. I called the wholesaler, the guy that sold me the house, and this guy was a rock star the entire time. He actually called me every couple weeks to see how things were going, and he would go to the house and take videos and pictures for me. The contractor wanted more work from him, so they kind of became friends. So when I told him what was going on, he immediately decided to help me. He said, I'm going to go look at the house and tell you what's going on. I sent him an email with the list, and he went through the whole house and he crawled through the attic and did all kinds of inspections for me. He's one of those wholesalers that really knows what he's doing. He gave me accurate numbers, and he knows all about construction because he previously was in construction. We went through the list together when he was done, line by line, and told me what it would cost to repair each item. He said there were definitely some issues with the house, but everything could be done for $8,000. I was relieved. I could handle $8,000. I contacted my realtor, let her know what was going on. I told her to contact the buyer, and we can offer them the $8,000 or $9,000 off, and there would be no more negotiations. I kind of knew they wanted to back out of it, so I was prepared for that. They obviously came back saying they're not going to purchase the house and they'll be canceling it. A little time went by and nothing seemed to be happening, but I just figured that all these things take a little time. I wanted the cancellation to go through so I could get the next person in to do the rehab. I was walking out of the gym one morning and my cell phone rings, and it's my realtor. I answered the phone and she said, "Are you sitting down?" So within about 1 second in my mind, I have a whole scenario that played out. She's going to tell me my house burned down, then I'm going to calm myself down, say I have insurance, I'm going to rebuild it, I'm going to get through it, it'll all work out, it'll be a great story, and I will learn something from it. I'm all prepared for her to tell me my house burned down. So I said, "What's going on?" She says, "You're not going to believe this." And I'm thinking, I probably will, but okay. "You're not going to believe this, but your house sale is going through tomorrow, and the buyers accepted the $8,000 off." That is the last thing I thought she was going to say. I was excited, but completely surprised. So the house went through the next day. Everything ended up going smooth, and I made a lot of money. After getting to go to Houston multiple times, which was pretty cool, and subtracting every single expense that I had, I still made over $30,000. I was so excited and really couldn't believe that it worked out that well. So I did a lot of research before I did this. I analyzed deal after deal. I listened to podcasts, I read books, I asked people that were doing the same thing as me all kinds of advice. I didn't know anyone personally, but this was all done on the internet, and I analyzed and analyzed and analyzed. I just kept learning and learning and learning how to do this, but really didn't do anything for a long time. I ended up joining a mastermind accountability group that got me to pull the trigger and flip this house. Every time we got together, we asked each other, what is your next big goal? And what is your next minimum step that you're gonna do to get that goal? And the step had to be very specific and very soon, within the next 2 weeks. That group and accountability got me to take action and flip the house. If you've made it this far, please comment below and let me know what your next big goal is and what your next minimum step is to make that goal happen. It doesn't have to be anything big, but something actionable and that you're going to do within the next 2 weeks. I have a link below where you can get a discount on the calculator that I use for fix and flips and buy and holds. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!